السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Good morning, boys. Now let's start about lesson 3. This for next week, for tomorrow, inshallah. Our month value for this month is about honesty. And we also lesson 3 is gas exchange in alveoli. How gas exchange in alveoli, like oxygen, carbon dioxide, how they exchange between blood and air. Of course, last lesson we have taken the meaning of ventilation, and ventilation means the exchange of air between atmosphere and the lungs. When you inhale, you breathe in, yes, you breathe in oxygen. And when you exhale, you give out what? You give out carbon dioxide. Exactly. Now, let's start about the objective for this lesson. This lesson you have to know and understand the rule of diffusion and concentration gradient in gas exchange. So here we have two important things: rule of diffusion and concentration gradient in gas exchange, and also how alveoli are adapted for gas exchange between air and blood. What are the adaptation in alveoli, the structure of alveoli that helps the alveoli to exchange gases very fast and quickly. Okay, so we have two objectives for this lesson: the diffusion and concentration gradient, the meaning and the role of diffusion and concentration gradient in gas exchange, and also the adaptation of alveoli structure. Okay, the vocab for this lesson is concentration, diffusion, concentration gradient, surface area, and blood capillary. Look at this picture and try to find out what is going to happen to ink when it poured in beaker A. What is happening here? What is happening here? For this ink, after some time, yes, exactly, the ink particles spread away from each other. They are going to spread in the water. So ink particles spread away from each other. This is called diffusion. So what is the meaning of diffusion? Diffusion, as you see, the particles, the ink particles move away and spread away in this water, so it becomes blue color. The water becomes blue. Why? Because of diffusion. So diffusion means the movement of particles, of a substance particle, from high concentration area to low concentration area. The movement of a substance from high concentration area to low concentration area. Look at these particles. They are moving away from each other, and they are moving from high concentration area to low concentration area. So this is a very important rule to understand gas exchange. So gases moving from high concentration area to low concentration area. Okay, so who can tell us the difference between area 1 and area 2? What is the difference in concentration between area 1 and area 2 for red particles substance? Exactly. Area 1 is larger or higher concentration than area 2. As you can see here, area 1 has more particles than area 2. So high concentration area is area 1 and lower concentration area is area 2. So what is the concentration gradient? It is the difference in concentration between two areas. Concentration gradient is the difference between see, this area has high concentration area, but this one has low concentration area. So the difference between those two areas is the concentration gradient. And also, as a bigger difference, the steeper concentration gradient and the faster molecules of a substance will diffuse. by increasing the concentration gradient, the diffusion becomes faster. Look at the concentration gradient from area 1 to area 2. Area 1 has higher concentration area and area 2 has lower concentration area, so the particles move away from area 1 to area 2. This is the concentration gradient between both areas, like you are calculating the slope of this line, so concentration gradient is the difference in concentration between two areas, and as this difference increases, the diffusion becomes faster. Okay, gas exchange by the meaning of diffusion. What happens here? From here, air is entering the alveoli from this way. Air enters the alveoli, and from this way, blood moving through the capillaries. Blood is moving through the capillaries. So from here, air from air and also from the capillary, the alveoli, the blood is moving through the capillary that surrounds the alveoli. Now we have two gases exchange. Oxygen moves from air to the blood, and carbon dioxide moves out of the blood. So as the blood moves through the capillaries and the alveoli, oxygen diffuses into the blood and carbon dioxide diffuses out of the blood. As the blood moves through the capillaries, oxygen diffuses into blood and carbon dioxide diffuses out of the blood. Who can say why? Why carbon dioxide diffuses out of the blood? Exactly, because carbon dioxide has higher concentration in the blood. Let's see. This is an alveoli structure. This one is an alveoli. All of this is an alveolus. The singular one is alveolus, and all of them called alveoli. And this is the blood which is moving through the capillary. So what is this called? This is bronchial. This is bronchial, which branches off and divided into too many alveolus. Okay, we called it, the singular one is called alveolus. So here we have bronchial, and this one is called alveolus, and the air is moving from the nose till it reaches the end, which is alveolus cell. Okay, now there are millions of alveoli in each lung, which very close to the blood capillary, and this is very important. See, it's very close to the blood capillary. Okay, now what is really happen? So gas exchange takes place. First, deoxygenated blood flow from the tissue, from the body, okay, from the body parts, rich in carbon dioxide. This blood, which is coming from this way, is rich in carbon dioxide, means high concentration of carbon dioxide in this blood, high concentration of carbon dioxide. Then this carbon dioxide, because it is a high concentration, it diffuses out from the bloodstream into the alveoli, and then moves from the alveoli into the bronchial, so it can be disposes out of the body, okay, or removes from the body. Okay, so again, deoxygenated blood flows from the tissues or the body parts to the capillaries, But this deoxygenated blood, what is the meaning of deoxygenated blood? It means it is rich in carbon dioxide or poor in oxygen. So what is the meaning of deoxygenated blood? It means rich in blood, rich in carbon dioxide blood, or oxygen poor blood. So carbon dioxide, which is high concentration of carbon dioxide, moves from the bloodstream into the alveolus. Okay, then diffuses into the bronchiole. Okay, then what happens? At the same time, when you inhale oxygen in air diffuses from the bronchiole into the alveoli and then into the red blood cells. So why oxygen moves from alveolus into blood? The same concept, because of oxygen is high concentration in this area and it diffuses from high concentration in the alveolus to low concentration in the blood. So directly oxygen moves from air into bronchiole, into lungs, air moves from bronchiole into alveolus, then diffuses into bloodstream. Finally, the blood becomes rich in oxygen. So now this blood is called oxygenated blood. Oxygenated blood. So what is the meaning of oxygenated blood? It's a rich in oxygen. Blood rich in oxygen. So what is the meaning of deoxygenated blood? Blood rich in carbon dioxide. So this oxygenated blood now leaves the alveoli and carries oxygen to the tissues. Okay, this is gas exchange, what exactly happened, and all these steps takes place at the same time. Inhalation and exhalation is very fast process. So oxygen is always diffuses from alveoli into the bloodstream, and carbon dioxide at the same time diffuses from bloodstream into the alveolus. Now, the conclusion for what we said, that high concentration as blood returns from the body diffuses into high concentration of carbon dioxide, diffuses into low concentration of carbon dioxide inside the alveolus, and moves till it disposes out of the blood, air out. At the same time, there is air in, which is high concentration of oxygen, and diffuses out of the alveolus into the bloodstream, which is low concentration of oxygen in the blood. So the blood becomes oxygenated blood and out from the lungs to the heart. So what can we conclude? We conclude that there is a high concentration of carbon dioxide in the blood, a low concentration in the alveoli. So carbon dioxide diffuses from the blood into the alveoli. What about oxygen? There is high concentration of oxygen in the alveoli, a low concentration of oxygen in the blood. So oxygen diffuses from the alveoli into the blood. Now, some of you will ask, Mr., what is the relation between concentration gradient and gas exchange? Of course, the main purpose for why carbon dioxide diffuses from here to here is always carbon dioxide in this area is high concentration. Okay? And always oxygen is always high concentration in the alveolus. So how can this happen? How can we maintain carbon dioxide always high concentration in this area, and oxygen always high concentration in the alveolus? Exactly. the concentration of the substance is equal in both area, diffusion stops. If the concentration is equal, the diffusion will stop. So continuous and good blood flow, see the blood flow, it should be continuous, non-stop. If the blood stops or becomes slower, it will be a problem. So good and continuous blood flow, and also ventilation, which means air in and out. Ventilation, air in and out, air in and out means ventilation. So blood flow, good blood flow and ventilation are important to maintain high concentration gradient of gas exchange in the alveoli. Understood? Okay. Now let's see some questions. How good ventilation helps gas exchange stay fast? Exactly. Ventilation is important to maintain a high concentration gradient of gas exchange in the alveoli. Okay? Ventilation is important. What? Why it is important? To maintain a high concentration gradient. To maintain a high concentration gradient of gas exchange. It's a very important rule. Okay? Now complete the sentence. As the blood moves through the capillaries in the alveoli, oxygen moves into it and carbon dioxide moves out of it by what is the process? Which means oxygen moves from alveoli into the blood and carbon dioxide moves out of the blood into the alveoli. What is this process called? The blood moves by diffusion process. Sorry, gases moves by diffusion process. Okay? Which type of blood vessels surround the alveoli? Choose aorta or veins, capillaries or arteries. Exactly. Of course it is capillaries. So the capillaries surround the alveoli. Last, true or false? Concentration gradient is the difference in the concentration of a substance between two areas. Exactly. It's true. Okay. Now let's move to the second objective. And here, this is the structure of the alveoli. Yes? Okay. What is the difference between alveolus A and alveolus B? What is the difference between both of those, A and B? Can you figure it out? Exactly. The surface area for A is larger than the surface area of B. So what this means when surface area increases, diffusion becomes faster. So the amount of substance diffusing increases. The amount of substances diffusing increases. Okay? By increasing the surface area, the diffusion becomes faster, or the substance diffusion increases. Okay? Now, what is the difference between C and D? C and D based on the thickness of the wall. Based on the thickness of the wall. Of course, by increasing the thickness of the wall, what is going to happen? The diffusion becomes slower. So when cell wall thickness increases, the amount of substances diffusing decreases. So here in the surface area, it's directly proportional. When surface area increases, the amount of substance diffusing increases, so it is directly proportional. But between C and D, you can see the difference in the thickness of the wall. So it is inversely proportional. Okay, when cell wall thickness increases, the diffusion decreases. Okay, Now in your booklet, page 21, this is the adaptations of effective gas exchange in the alveoli. Starting with the walls of the blood capillaries. As we said in the previous slide, that the thickness of the alveolus and the capillaries is very important for diffusion. So a short distance required for diffusion, meaning the walls of blood capillaries are 1 cell thick and the walls of the alveoli are only 1 cell thick. So it is very, very thin. So diffusion can take place very fast. Second, maintaining a continuous high concentration gradient. As we said before, good blood flow here in the alveoli and ventilation, air in and out, are very important to maintain high concentration gradient of gas exchange, because if the concentration in the blood and the alveoli is equal, the diffusion will stop. So we don't want this to happen. So what should we do? Maintaining a continuous high concentration gradient. How this come? By a good ventilation, inhalation and exhalation. A good ventilation, it means air in and air out. Last, a large surface area. A typical pair of human lungs contain about 480 million alveoli. This produces 50 to 75 square meters of surface area. Each alveolus is around 200 to 300 micrometer in diameter, meaning the alveolus has a large surface area compared to its volume. It has a large surface area, so diffusion is very fast. Diffusion becomes very fast and effective. Okay? So what happens after oxygen diffuses into the blood? What happens? Exactly. Oxygen, the blood becomes oxygenated blood, which means oxygen rich in blood, and moves to the heart and then to the different body cells or body tissues. Okay? Complete. When you exhale, what type of gases diffuses out of the blood into the air? When you exhale, what type of gases diffuses out of the blood into the air? Exactly, carbon dioxide. Okay, choose the correct answer. What do you call the blood that has less oxygen? Or it called oxygen poor blood, and is shown in blue. The color of this blood is shown as blue. Exactly, it's deoxygenated blood. True or false? Ventilation is the function of the alveoli. Wrong. Ventilation is not the function of the alveoli. The function of the alveoli is gas exchange. The function of the alveoli is gas exchange. Now, let's match. Who can tell us the meaning of diffusion? The meaning of diffusion. Diffusion means the movement of a substance from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. What's the meaning of concentration gradient? Exactly, the difference in concentration between two areas. Oxygenated blood means oxygen rich blood. What about deoxygenated blood? Means oxygen poor blood. And rich blood travels from lungs to heart, and poor blood travels from heart to the lungs. So check what have you learned today. What did we say? We learned the meaning or the rule of diffusion and concentration gradient in gas exchange, and also how alveoli are adapted for gas exchange. Okay, thank you all. You should study this video so you prepare yourself for tomorrow, inshallah. Thank you. Goodbye.